The name Bethel, or City of God in Hebrew, is one of the most familiar and common names in the Bible. The most famous story associated with Bethel is the story of Jacob's dream, described in the book of Genesis. Over the years, researchers tried to identify biblical Bethel. One common theory puts Bethel at a small site in the West Bank, near the Palestinian city of Ramallah.
We're in an altitude of 840 meters above sea level, which basically controls the entire area. Behind me, we can see the highest mountain of the region, which is called Baal Chatzol, higher than Jerusalem itself. And could it be that this is one of the places that is assumed to be that Jacob had his dream, Jacob's ladder, since this is one of the higher places and the land was folded, as it says, underneath Jacob himself.
One of the finds here is quite unique, a stone fire pan, which may have been used for Jewish rituals during the Second Temple era.
The fire pan is a ritual object. It even appears in the Jewish temple, but over there it is made of some metal. We found a fire pan made out of stone. We did not find any sign of use on it, so we suggest that it was an ornamental piece. But it still shows us that the population here remembered this object and perhaps even tried to follow the high priests of the temple.
The book of Genesis tells us about Jacob, the son of Isaac, who travels from Beersheba up north to Haran. On his way, he sleeps and has a dream, described in Genesis 28. And he dreamed, and behold, a ladder set up on the earth, and the top of it reached to heaven, and behold, the angels of God ascending and descending on it. And behold, the Lord stood above it and said, I am the Lord, God of Abraham thy father, and the God of Isaac. The land whereon thou liest, to thee will I give it, and to thy seed. And thy seed shall be as the dust of the earth. And thou shalt spread abroad to the west, and to the east, and to the north, and to the south. And in thee and thy seed shall all the families of the earth be blessed. This tomb from the early Muslim period is believed by some to be the biblical site of Jacob's dream.
Sheikh Abdallah is a building that was built in a Muslim period, but obviously anything that comes from Islam tradition comes earlier than that from a Christian tradition that would come earlier than that from a Jewish one. Okay, this place is based on traditions over traditions that supposedly this was the place where Jacob's dream has occurred. By the way, nobody knows who was Abdallah. But in many ways, it's very tempting to say that Abdallah, which means God's servant, refers to Jacob himself. And this place becomes a pilgrimage place for a lot of Muslims because of the tomb that is right over here.
Another famous biblical story associated with this site relates to King Jeroboam's shrine and the division of the United Israelite Kingdom.
In the book of Kings, it says that the people of Israel are coming to Rehoboam, the son of King Solomon, and says that, would you be willing to ease our taxes? Your father was a great king, but he was very heavy with his taxes upon us. Would you be willing to ease your taxes? And Rehoboam does a political mistakes and goes not to the elders who tell him, do ease them, but actually the younger advisors are telling him, do not do so. And the answer that he gives them 3 days later is a very harsh one. He says that my father tortured you with spikes. I'm going to torture you with scorpions, which means much, much harsher than that. And obviously the people are not pleased, and they say to each one in his own, back to your tents, O Israel, and the kingdom is being split.
Historian Ze'ev Vilnai was one of the first to identify this place as Jeroboam's shrine. He based his assumptions on some evidence on the ground, such as the measurement of the site.
Jeroboam tries to create two alternative sanctuaries. One of them is over here in Bethel. The other one is up north in Tel Dan. And over here, there are many fascinating evidence that really prove that this is probably the place where this thing was. One of them is the very well-fortified place because potentially there could be a war between Judea and the Kingdom of Israel.
It's almost impossible to find clear evidence of the story of Jacob, which according to tradition took place more than 4,000 years ago. But this story continues to be a source of inspiration in the Holy Land,